All right, you're gonna need to grab one of these you're gonna need to grab one of these sheets from the paper holder. You're gonna need to put your name at the top and the block that I have you, and you're just gonna practice some of these shading techniques. So it tells you underneath each circle what technique is gonna go in that circle, and we also have a light source over here in the corner, so we know that that light source is gonna be coming across and hitting each one of those circles. On the first one, we're going to use dots. And so remember, with dots, you start just lightly, just making dots, going from one side of the circle to the other. At the beginning, you want dots to kind of be far apart. You don't want them super close together because remember, we're trying to get them super light. And then we're going to stop when we get close to that light source and then come back and go over it again. When you go over it again, you're just trying to hit those white spots in between what you did the first time. And you're just going to stop a little shorter. And then you're going to do it again, and you're going to do it again, and you're going to do it again until one side is super, super dark and the other side is super, super light. Remember, this one is kind of a time-consuming process. You don't want to do this where you're using the tip of your pencil and you're just going up and down because that takes too much time. Like if I'm trying to do dots like this, that takes way too long and I've got like 7 dots. Whereas if I keep my pencil really, really super close to the paper and I just kind of pick it up and sit it back down over and over again, then you're going to be able to work a lot faster. This goes so much faster than picking it up all the way and making all that noise and racket too, because it gets really annoying. So the more you do this, the darker it's going to get. Okay. Then on the second one, you're going to do cross hatching. So remember, this is our white spot. So we're going to take some lines going up to that white spot. Then we're going to turn our pencil and we're going to go in an opposite direction. Then we're going to turn and go in another direction, each time stopping a little shorter than the time before, right? And then where the lines overlap more, it's going to be darker, and where they overlap less, it's going to be lighter. Just makes sense, right? All right, and that's cross hatching. The third one is going to be lines. So, of course, this is going to be our white spot. So, we're going to take some lines up to that white spot. And then we're going to do it again, but we're going to stop a little shorter. And we're going to go again, but we're going to stop a little shorter. And again. And each time you're just stopping a little shorter than you did the time before. Now I'm getting all outside my circle right here. And so I want to take my eraser and I want to make sure I clean up around that circle because I messed that all up, right? And that's okay. We just want to make sure we clean up after ourselves. The fourth one, we know that our light spot's going to be up here. So we're going to start using those scribble or swirly lines. Starting in the dark, which is going to be at the bottom of your circle, and slowly making your way up to the top. Then we're going to come back and we're going to do another layer, but each time we're stopping a little shorter than the time before. Notice, where am I holding my pencil? Down at the end, right? You got to hold it down there on the end by the eraser, or you're not going to get it light enough and you're going to see all those lines and it's just going to look like a hot mess. We don't want that, right? So remember when we were looking at this the last time, we did about 7 or 8 layers. And so that's what you're looking for every time you do this process, at least that amount, if not more. That's just like the minimum. Remember, you can turn your paper in different directions and that'll help you get up against that edge of the shape to where it's real easy to keep your shape. With this shading technique, I move my paper around a lot. So those are our four main shading techniques that we looked at, and I just wanted you to practice them and look at them. Down here, we've got some cylinders that are hollow, and we hadn't really talked about that, so I wanted to make sure we looked at it. So if our light source is coming down and hitting here on our object, then we know this side on the outside is going to be dark, and this side is going to be your light. But what happens is on the inside of the cylinder, this is open like a can, and you're looking down into it. And so what happens is the light hits this lip and actually creates a shadow on this side, and then the light goes and hits this side. And so it's the opposite of whatever it is on the outside. So this side would be your dark, and this side would be your light. The right would be your dark, and the left would be your light. Whereas on the outside, we know that this left corner is opposite of our light source, so it's going to be our dark, and the top right part of the can is going to be our lightest. So whatever shading style you want to use on this is fine. I encourage you to use scribble shading just because the more you practice it, the better you're going to get at it. And the least you practice it, the more you're going to struggle when we get to those faces. The more you do the scribble technique, the better you're going to get at it. Refrain from going through and trying to smudge this with your finger. That's the last thing you want to do, because then you get rid of all those values you've worked so hard for. They just disappear and you just lose them all, and it's so sad. All right, the next one is a hollow metallic look. And so what happens is with metal, you get these bands of values, and sometimes they're even like little bends. Like if it was a can that had like a little ridge in it, it would bend a little bit, and some of the ridges would be thicker and some would be thinner, and this would just kind of be how your values showed up. Okay, then you've got three shapes at the bottom. You can shade these three just like we did on notes. You can look back at your notes if you don't remember how we did that. And then you're going to flip it over on the back and you're going to do the value scale. The value scale, you are going to start on the darkest side. And the darkest side is our number 1 right here. And then our lightest side is our number 7 on this sheet. And so you're going to start in number 1 and you're going to shade it as lightly as possible, and then you're going to do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then you're going to come back and do it again. So you're going to do number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, and number 6. And then you're going to come back and do it again. Now I'm doing cross hatching at the top. If you want to do scribble shading, I am not opposed to that at all. Please practice that scribble shading as much as possible. For the sake of video, I'm just trying to go kind of quick for those people that are watching the video so that you just kind of get the idea of what we're doing. All right, so I've done 1 through 5, so the next time I'm going to stop on 4. So each time you're just stopping one box shorter than the time before, just like all the practice that we've done. I'm just trying to get you to see it in a different way so it kind of sticks in your brain. All right, now we're going to do 1 through 3. And then we'll do 1 and 2. And then we'll do just 1. And so it has no choice but to be dark on this end and light on this end, because I've slowly added layers, and every time you add a layer, it's going to get darker. There's no other option but for it to get darker. So now what I want you to do on your own is to do the value scale by using the scribble shading. So we're going to start with number 1 as lightly as we possibly can. When we're trying to get light, remember you hold it way down there on the end by the eraser. Do not hold it in the middle or at the tip, because you're going to get too dark too fast and you're going to mess it up. So we're going to go from 1 to 7, and then 1 to 6, 1 to 5, 1 to 4, 1 to 3, 1 to 2. And then when you get done, I want you to take pictures of this side and this side, and I want you to turn it in at the paper holder and submit it online. Remember, always do both, so that way we have a backup if something happens to your paper copy. If it's incomplete, it goes in the top paper holder. If it's complete, it goes in the bottom paper holder.